And obviously, I didn't succeed at the first attempt. I didn't succeed in maybe the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. But at some point, I got it. If I can get it, you probably can. Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today's video is a little bit different. It's a video that I wanted to do for my younger friend who's going through some stressful but hopefully rewarding interview process. I guess before I start this video, it's helpful to give you a little bit of background that I haven't really talked about myself. So I'm Lydia. I am an investment banker who also loves life. I want to explore all possibilities in life. The past 8 years in banking from Hong Kong to London has taught me not only about the cash flow models, but also about income statements about life. And I realized how important it is just to build up your own life. Being able to work on interesting projects and surrounded by professional and smart people, I feel extremely lucky and blessed. So in this channel, I've been trying to stay away from my job itself because I believe that no matter what job you have, you will always have some different identities about yourself, which is what I have been trying to do in the past several years. And part of the reason I started this YouTube channel. Hi, I'm Lydia. Welcome to my channel. This will be my first ever video on YouTube. The reason why I want to start this is because a lot of my friends suggest me that I will be a very good source of information for them to explore Hong Kong. The 8 years that I've been working in investment bank has a lot of ups and downs, but the recent several years is when I start to realize how important it is to have different identities, to have a healthy lifestyle, to really look at things from a growth mindset, just to try a little bit harder every day. And that's when I discovered the beauty and magic of life itself several years ago by building a healthy routine. I start from zero as somebody who's just not good at sports at all to somebody who eventually certified as a spinning class instructor, and also I have achieved a nutrition program certificate as well, just to try not only help myself to understand systematically how important it is to live a healthy life, but also hopefully one day I can help more and more people to navigate stressful situation and how to, as much as possible, to live a healthier and happier life. But today, it's about interviews. If any of my previous experience, when I think of almost like 8 or 9 years ago when I went through those first time interviews, how nervous I was, no matter whether it's including like catastrophic first round interviews that I failed, or some of the more successful coffee chats, networking, and all those skills and tips. If some of my experience can help my younger friend, if you are getting ready to say goodbye to school life and getting ready to get into the early adulthood. This video is about 5 interview secrets that I summarized for investment banking or some of the other big corporation jobs. Quick disclaimer, this video only represents my personal view and opinions. Before we dive into those 5 secrets, I want to say something about the caveats. I believe it's the same case for some other jobs as well. Interviews in investment banking are usually split between technical interviews and behavior interviews. Technical interviews, I think, especially if you're a fresh graduate, you can see of information online, so I wouldn't mention that here. There are a lot of technical questions, techniques, and resources that you can familiar yourself with. This video is really about when you're already at that level, you're quite familiar with all the technical interviews and what is going to make the difference for you to stand out from a lot of other similar qualified competitors and also your friends. Maybe you're all getting into banking, you're all getting into like a law firm or a big corporation job. At the end of the day, you're going to work. Given enough time and practice and get ready, let's nail that first job interview for investment bank. So the first secret is they are hiring a human being. You didn't get me wrong, that's the first and biggest one. I think being correct all the time and also get prepared for all the technical skills and all the questions, nailed that for sure, right? You just couldn't get around it. But just as seldom as see from interview tips or from other YouTube channels. On the contrary, this point is maybe the most mentioned point through all my conversations with my friends. Like in my career, when I try to find a job, and that's the feeling I got from some of the interviews I had. If one position can pick one people from thousands of hundreds of applicants and everybody is equally qualified, people want to hire a human being they can sit next to for the 16-hour day, 20-hour day, or crazy 100-hour week. After all, when you are tired, frustrated, or just deflated by the situation at work, the last thing you want is probably sitting right next to some kind of emotionless machine. While job descriptions and hiring managers wouldn't tell you, the biggest secret for all the interviewers they are hiring a human being. They want somebody they can crack a joke with. They want somebody they can go for a coffee with. They want somebody they can sometimes share, oh, today I was walking my dog. Tomorrow I am trying to buy a Valentine's Day gift for my wife. Next week is my anniversary. They want somebody who's actually a human being they can talk about those things with. Of course, nobody is going to talk about that every day, but I think all the jobs, right? Because we are all human beings. You want to work with somebody you can actually have a conversation with. You want to work with somebody who actually has life. That's why it's more likely for your friend who has been training for the swimming team, your friends who actually have a hobby, your friends who has traveled across the globe to another culture, they can resonate with the interviewer. That's why more likely they are going to get the job. They are going to pass the first round interview. They are going to, at the end of the day, climb through the corporate ladder, sit on the other side of the table, and sit down to have an interview, to interview for the next generation of the bankers, of the lawyers, of the big corporation. So now you're going to say, I don't have these lengthy extracurricular activities. These are just so difficult. But it's not about how big, it's about the story you're going to tell. It's about how you identify yourself as a different human being. We are going to see it in the next secret. Be a human being is about being yourself and being able to tell your story that makes a difference, makes people remember. So, which brings out to our secret number 2, be yourself and tell your story. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that go into investment banking interviews with some bold, funky outfits or, paintings on your face or like tattoos, all that kind of things to show that you're different. Be yourself means that you know your value, know where you are in your life. Well, at least you're trying to know where you are in your life and clearly demonstrate that why you want this job and connect all the dots together. All interviews are different, but I think there's one question that you really couldn't get around with is, tell me about yourself question. Sometimes it disguised in other ways as like, so what brings you here? Or can you just walk me through your resume? That kind of question. No matter what they ask, even if they didn't ask this question, you can always prepare this 2 minutes or 1 minute self-introduction about you. Practice it again and again. Compared to the technical interviews, if there's one correct answer to all the technical questions, there's at least more than one way that you can tell your stories. The most important and the most helpful way is to have your own stories, to really look through your life, what kind of things that have brought you to this point. Let's talk about stories. What kind of stories you want to hear as a person? It's worth pause a second to think for yourself and what stories that you will want to hear. A good story must be with a good opening scene that you can bring the audience into your story. And then you and the audience together to go through these ups and downs. And finally, the main character achieves some kind of achievement in their life. So that's a general way to look at the story. So go back to interviews. I usually ask 3 whys when I want to craft my own story. These are why me, why the company or the position, and why me working in this team can be a win-win situation. When you have the framework and the real work of storytelling starts, you should know your resume better than anybody else. If you put something on your resume, that you need to make sure that you understand every single line, what you're trying to tell about yourself, about your capability, and about how relevant it is to the position. People are busy. Maybe when they see your resume, it's already 10 they've seen on that day. So use the why me question to connect all the dots on your resume, building the climax and the low points in your life, how you've been building up to the relevant skills to this point, to the interview. And the second why is why this industry, why this company? Connect your past experience. Yeah, sure, nobody has exactly the same prerequisite skills that people ask you on the job description. Especially if when you're a fresh graduate, yeah, sure, maybe you have been through some internships, but it's okay that you don't have the relevant experience, right? That's the whole reason why you start fresh. But I am pretty sure 99% of the time you can find out something on your resume to tell the interviewer that, oh, hey, I have this experience, I have some transferable skills that should match what this position requires. And then you use the storytelling to make the interviewers engaged in your story that you're telling. And about this why this company question, don't forget to mention the strengths and the difference, the uniqueness about this position, this company. That requires you to do a lot of research. And that's usually when you can stand out because you've done more research, you've understood this position more, you've understood how it feels like to work in this team, which means you're going to do a lot more research, watch videos like this or some other videos. They actually break down what kind of teams, what kind of jobs they are doing differently. And just go on LinkedIn to connect with people who are in that team. If you ask nicely, most of the time people are really, really helpful. They can give you at least an overview. And I'm sure in your life you can find some people that are at least somewhat relevant to the position that you are applying for and give you some tips. When you're mentioning how special and how different this company is, like most of the people, they want to feel special. They want to feel heard. They want to feel seen. And that's why you, as an interviewee, you show that you have interest. It's real interest because you've done your homework. You knew what they're doing. You cannot be over-prepared on this point. You just prepare as much as you can. And finally, combine those 2 points together and just have a nice and sweet and short ending about this is why I really, really want to work in this team. I think it will be great for us to take that. Remember to prepare several versions of your story. You can have a 5 minutes one, 2 minutes one, even 30 seconds for elevator pitch because you never know what kind of opportunities you will come across. When you really have the opportunity, you want to have something that's already ready that you can share and you can make an impression. The second secret is remember to be yourself, to understand yourself, to have a great story about yourself. The third secret is energy. Energy is a subjective thing. I think we use it interchangeably, like in some other contexts, it's similar to chemistry in dating. I bet you don't need me to remind how different a date can come out when you show up with great energy or just dragging the conversation. I was like thinking, oh, when this is gonna end. So it's the same in interviews. I can still remember when I show up in an interview and I'm healthy, I'm sure about myself, or at least I'm trying to sure about myself, versus those interviews when I was just like depressed and just wanted to get a way out of a position. It's just completely different outcome. I'm sure you've heard of how important it is to have the first impression correct. For my younger friends, I would say the best and the non-arguable advantage you all have is the energy that you naturally come across. You're young, you're curious about the world, and you just have that passion. Like everything is more or less new to you, and hopefully you're still hopeful about the future as well. So that kind of energy almost come across as natural as it could be. But sadly in school, I believe for a lot of my intelligent younger friends must have gone to great schools, and just every day you're seeing the same type of intelligent, charming people, they're just like awesome people around you. It might make you feel like not as confident you should be, which is why sometimes, especially when we're nervous, and it might block your light from within. People say fake it until you make it. The energy is something you carry with you when you walk into a room, when you speak. It's just something that interviewers can see. Before you start any interviews, take a deep breath, prepare yourself, open the door, and walk into that room with the most confident and the best energy you can have. And greet your interviewer with a firm handshake and say, thank you so much for your time, and then go along with the interviews. Secret number 4, I think I have never seen this before, but this is just from myself. Admitting I don't know. Wow, it sounds scary, right? Who's going to admit that you don't know about some answers to an interviewer? Let's pause here. I am not asking you to plainly say, sorry, I don't know to all the questions you have some doubts with. For sure, you wouldn't be able to know every single questions they ask, but it's about being humble and admitting that you don't know when you really have no clue. The caveat is saying I don't know is actually the beginning of the question but not the end. You can say, sorry, I'm not too sure about the answer, but here's how I would approach it. Or, but I would like to know more about the assumptions. Or, but if we can add some definitions to this question, or even simply say, I'm sorry, this hasn't come across my radar yet, but I would love to see what's the best way to approach this. So an interview is something that people are trying to mimic the most relevant scenario at work. The aim is to help the interviewer to see that whether they can work with you together, to see whether you'll be able to fit into a real working environment with a team, with this specific individual that you're having an interview with. And if that's the goal, what they care the most is not that you're able to give the 100% correct answer right away. It's about what is your thought process and how fast you can comprehend the question. Most importantly, you're willing to learn and contribute and to show up. So the final secret is to pay attention. You'll be saying that, oh, that's too easy, right? It's such a simple concept. Yeah, but sometimes the simplest thing is usually when people ignore. I feel like especially in banking, or some other jobs when human interactions are very important, knowing how to pay attention is even more important than people think in other situations. So in an interview, however, we always go ahead of ourselves. I don't know whether you've been through this, like sometimes when we're in interviews, you always rehearsing the stories, punchlines that we've been practicing over and over again in our head. Like human brains, we're not good at multitasking. There's no way we can do this. So you're basically switching off to the point that you're not paying attention to the interviewer and you're just focusing on yourself to try to give an answer maybe that's not that relevant. Rather than pretend to focus on the question, focus and pay attention, give 1000% attention to the interviewer. That person on the other side of the table who might be just the one who can give you the final decision whether you can go into the second round interview, whether you can finally get hired. And the more people agree on your performance, the better chance you'll be able to actually get the job you want. Engaging in the conversation and let the conversation flow. Ask follow-up questions according to the conversation itself and always have something in mind. And then you can relate back to the points that you wanted to say. That's how you make the difference because we're all about human interaction. It's very important they pick someone that knows how to pay attention and how to continue the conversation and how to functioning as a team member. So that's all the 5 secrets that I wish I know when I was 22 applying for a job first time in the investment bank. And obviously I didn't succeed at the first attempt and I didn't succeed in maybe the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, or 9th attempt. But at some point I got it. I am not from a target school, I would say. I didn't have the typical profile that most of the people have. But I want to show you that these are the tips that I have been summarized for myself in the past several years. And by talking to my friends, I have some very intelligent friends. They just got the first job interview. They walked through the door and they just got it like that, But I want to say if I can get it, you probably can as well. But just remember to get as prepared as you are. Really understand the technical points. There's no way to get around it. Also put yourself into the interviewer's shoes. Imagine that if you're already working in the office, what topics they would discuss every day and what kind of skills they care about hiring somebody new to the team. If you want to make a difference and want to make a good impression, be yourself and really be curious about the field that you want to. If you're saying that, hey, I've been wanting to do this my whole life, and they ask you also what kind of news you've been following and what do you think of the current interest rate situation, what are you thinking about the inflation, if you couldn't engage in conversation like that or just offer some other point, then your argument is not that solid, isn't it? So listening to podcasts or news like Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg, and some relevant transaction news if you're interviewing for a specific team, and demonstrate that you are a fast learner, demonstrate that you're humble as well, and demonstrate that you're a cooperative team player. You might not succeed at the first try, but like everything else in life, the more you practice, the better you will be. And the world is your oyster.